Welcome everyone to the next episode of the CEN Nutrition Podcast. You're with your host Brian today, and today we have a very special guest. It is Ellie from Elirose Equestrian, who is a equestrian influencer and eventer from WA. And if you have not been on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, she has a huge following, and her following has been based all around an 8-year-old off-the-track thoroughbred called Enzo and his journey in finding the right discipline post-racing. And she's had an absolute amazing time with him in the past couple of years, and it has been a journey of challenges, and she has done an amazing job to document this on the social medias. And we're going to take you through how Enzo has responded to the CEN feed program. So this is a really good insight into a way to manage the off-the-track thoroughbred, but also look at how Ellie has positioned herself also as an influencer in the equestrian industry on her social media. And this has enabled her to have a long list of affiliations and sponsorships. So she's doing something right. So she's got apparel, feed and sups, tack, bits and saddlery, also a helmet sponsor. And we're just going to go through, and we're really happy to have her on the podcast. So how are you, Ellie?
Wow, Brian, that is an amazing introduction. I'm so good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I actually had to take a breath then. No, that's good. No, I'm really well. We're after hours in the CEN office at the moment because of the time difference.
I know. I think we'll have to make a cup of tea and sit down and settle in. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
And that's all good. If Peter was here, I think there'd be a gin poured. So we'll just just leave it there. But
5 o'clock somewhere.
What we will go through today is we're going to showcase you in terms of, you have over 45,000 Instagram followers, over 3,500 YouTube subscribers, and thousands of Facebook followers. And you've grown this quite quickly. And what I can remember is when we first joined forces, you were only around 20,000 Instagram followers, and it's built up. What we will do is we'll just start. You just had a very successful weekend with Enzo.
I sure did. I was so impressed with him. So I guess for those of you who maybe don't follow me on Instagram, well, that's where I posted all my latest results. So Enzo and I attended our first competition of 2022, and it was actually a dressage competition, and this was held in Gidgigana. So that's only 10 minutes away from where Enzo is currently in the Swan Valley. I had entered him in a 1B and 2B class. And just so everyone knows, this was our first dressage competition ever. Wow. So as you can imagine, I was quite nervous. But in the 1B test, we scored 73%, which gave us the win. So our first ever dressage test, and we came out with first place. So I was absolutely stoked with him. And in the 2B test, which was my first time ever doing a dressage novice test, we scored 68%, which I was very happy with. And we took home second place in the class. And because of our great dressage score in the 1B, which is the preliminary 1B test, we also took home the highest percentage score in the off-the-track horses of the day. So It was so successful. And I think I was most happy with Enzo's attitude over the day. I wasn't sure how he was going to handle his first competition of the year, as we hadn't been out, in his last show 6 months ago and the dressage comp on the weekend. He was so willing to try his hardest, and he was just so rideable in both of the tests. So I was very happy with him.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it's just an amazing achievement for the both of you, because it hasn't always been that easy, has it?
No, that's right. It hasn't been the easiest of paths, and I guess everyone is on their own journey when it comes to, them and their horse and whatever routes they're wanting to take, whether it's Western or dressage or show jumping and eventing. Owning horses, it does come with a lot of highs and a lot of lows, but we just have managed to click over the weekend, and we're on a high at the moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, Ellie, your journey with Enzo, when we take it right back, it began probably through mid-2020?
Yeah, I think it was about mid-2020, and I think we started with the CEN oil, didn't we?
Yeah, before we even knew.
back in the early days.
Yeah. And when you did take on Enzo, what were the plans back then? Because I don't think you could have foreseen where he is now.
No, you're right. So I guess if we do start back at the very, very beginning, he was very green when I bought him, and he had very minimal outings with his previous owner. So he was rising 7 years of age. And I only at the time had been riding consistently for about 3 to 4 years. So in the scheme of things, I was still quite green myself. In a horse, I guess I wanted a challenge, and I wanted to train something myself, but I needed to make sure I had the right coaches, make sure I was doing the right thing, not only for me, but for my new horse, Enzo, as well. But I've been riding Enzo now for 2 years, and I've owned him for 18 months, and it's taken an incredible amount of consistent hard work, resilience, and patience to get where we are now. But I've seen massive improvements on the flat. We're still trying to figure things out in the show jumping, but I think our massive improvements are due to CEN and you, Brian, and Peter as well, being one of our most amazing sponsors.
Thanks very much. But we couldn't do it without your dedication to Enzo. And when you look at the off-the-track thoroughbreds that are available, and what you do see is you need to explore probably every avenue on what they can do, because they're quite versatile. Because I've had a bit of experience with many off-the-track thoroughbreds and trying to get their diets right, and they're all different. I'm like a broken record. They all respond differently, whether it's due to their early environment, their genetics, and it's just working out those pieces of the puzzle. And Enzo was no different. So in the end of 2020, we looked, I think, Ellie, you tagged us in some story, and I sort of reached out to you and said, did you want your diet reviewed for Enzo? And you're willing to give the information out. And I sort of put together a plan and said, would you like to try it? And I think you said, yeah, I'm actually pretty keen to, over that summer break, do a transition and then see how he went.
Absolutely. That is exactly what happened. You have such a good memory, Brian.
I haven't wrecked my brain yet.
Oh, not yet.
But and I think I know you weren't committed. You just said, let's just try it. And I think it was after a month, you just messaged and you said, I think this is it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I started with CEN oil in the beginning, didn't I? Yes. Adding that in for, as you said, about a month, source. 2 months. Yeah. And the CEN oil itself definitely helped Enzo, but I think we knew deep down that he could be even better. There could be a better outcome if Enzo was on the full CEN diet. So I jumped in head first and explained to Brian and the team what his diet was, Enzo's behaviour, our training schedule, what that was like, and kind of where I wanted to see the improvements.
Yeah, 100%, Ellie. And when we looked at Enzo's diet, we saw some gaps that we could fix up. And you were always a good roughage feeder in terms of plenty of grassy hay. And it was just keeping along those lines, getting a better nutrient profile, but also going and reducing that sugar and starch level in the diet, getting better trace mineral ratios. And we knew it worked on off-the-track thoroughbreds in particular because they've come off that traditionally high grain feeds, and we want to try and get that temperament better so they can concentrate on their new careers. So we really simplified the diet right down. I explained to you the moving parts in terms of what you can adjust for condition. And I think fast forward a few months later, we know these off-the-track thoroughbreds, the way they handle themselves in competition, they can drop weight or they just require that extra calories. And we did add oats to that diet. And yes, it does have sugar and starch, but you've got the most natural source of it, which is highly digestible, but you can also control that. So you can back it down if they're getting too much condition from that, but then you can also adjust it up. And you know that the base diet isn't overloaded with starch and sugars. Yeah, and Ellie, when you did get used to the CEN feed program, you did notice a response with Enzo's temperament and that condition, didn't you?
100%. So I know when we first started Enzo on his full new CEN diet, we began to gradually introduce all those new products slowly to make sure it wasn't, a shock to his system and that he enjoyed the product, which was no problems at all because we found that Enzo loved it. And I guess all the products are made to be super palatable for horses. But the first major change I noticed was to his behaviour and attitude. I found that he was much more level-headed and he was much more consistent, I guess, in his behaviour and kind of had that ready to work and learn attitude and kind of learn his new role of being a ridden full-time eventing horse with me as his new owner.
Yeah, it's not light work.
No, it is hard and kind of, I guess the diets can all be adjusted as well depending on the horse's workload and what you're expecting to do with them, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. So in that first year switching over to the CEN feed program, you competed in many, many events, didn't you, throughout the year?
Yeah, I think lost count, but it was probably around, I'd say about 12 eventing competitions that first year. So it was a real heavy load.
And you had your greatest success in?
I think it was Wooroloo mid-year, about July. Yeah.
If you want to take us through.
That day was one I will never forget. It was an awesome day. It was just like when all of your hard work, your training, your literal blood, sweat and tears all come together for one weekend. And, you spend so much time, or for me, you're running around to the stables before work or after work. You're trying to book in lessons, you're being there for the farrier, you're feeding all the right things, you're organising your transport to and from shows. A lot goes on behind the scenes to actually get out and compete eventing. And, even some people have done their entry fees, they're due to go, but then something goes wrong and you have to withdraw. So we got there. It was a wonderful day. I had a pretty decent dressage test and we had show jumping, I think, that afternoon, and we went clear. Mm-hmm. So I was over the moon, and I think I was sitting in maybe 5th or 6th after show jumping from going clear. And then I just said to myself, right, we've got to get around cross country. He's great at cross country. Actually, no, I think I might have been sitting 3rd after show jumping. Sorry, my apologies. 3rd after show jumping. And I said, look, come on, let's go double clear cross country. And we did, and I moved up to 2nd. So that was, definitely a highlight of 2021 in our eventing season together. Yeah,
and I think I watched that vlog and just your emotion. Your partner, Tim, he captures it really nicely with that was the dressage score. It was one of the scores, I think, I saw.
Oh, I think, I didn't actually realise he had pulled the GoPro out at the time, and he was like, do you want to know your dressage score? And I was like, yeah. He's like, what do you think you're going to get? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, maybe a 33, 34. And he's like, you got a sub 30. And he told me what 20 something, and I was like, oh, yeah, completely shocked. I was so excited, and that was real raw emotion. Yeah. That was pure excitement on my end. I couldn't hold it in.
Yeah. No, and you deserve the high of that, because it's what you've worked to. You've done, as you said, all that training, all that sort of hard work. You've ticked your nutrition box, and you're ticking your training, the management of Enzo, and you just have to be commended for really getting that result. And it's a really good story, Ellie.
Oh, thank you, Brian. I honestly couldn't do it without you guys. I don't know how many times I'll say thank you during this podcast, but probably a lot.
No, that's all good. As long as we're not doing shots when we say thank you, so everyone at home can probably do it.
Don't do this at home.
No. So with an off the track thoroughbred like Enzo, now it looks like you are going to take a different direction with him?
I think I will. I think so, yeah. Spoken to a few people, and deep down in my heart, I love eventing. I think I say that in my latest show vlog. Tim asked me, I'm clouding up the ride I had for the eventing comp this year. So I didn't take Enzo, I took one of my friend's horses. And he's like, how does it feel being back out eventing? And I just said it was so nice because in my heart, I really love eventing. I love jumping.
Yeah.
But sometimes you've just got to take into consideration what the horse wants to do as well.
Yeah.
And I may return back to eventing with Enzo. Who knows what the future holds? Things can change. But at the moment, I just think from what he's telling me and how he is going on the flat and how calm, rideable, trainable he is becoming, I just think that his heart is in that lovely white rectangle arena at the moment.
Yeah, you could almost look at 2021 as a trial for him for what he wants to do.
Yeah, and it was a really good trial, and we really worked hard, with you guys on board, trying to build that muscle, keep that consistent weight, get him going, full-time. Eventing's hard, you're galloping up and down hills on cross country. Even though I am only doing low-level eventing, you still have to put some decent amount of training in behind the scenes, but it was a really good trial. Warraloo, as you said before, was definitely fantastic. I think I had another really good result earlier in 2021 at Harvey. But this year, I just really tried to listen to him over the summer and earlier this year to see where his heart is. And at the moment, it's in the dressage arena. So I think I'm going to pursue that a little bit more this year and just see how we go.
Yeah, it's a sensible outlook in terms of trying to find the right fit for your horse and where possible. I know a lot of people have aspirations for their horse and they might not live up to their expectations. And I think, as you said in many times in your vlogs, you don't have expectations. Having high, obviously you want to do well, but it can put that pressure, that unneeded pressure on the rider and unwanted pressure on the horse as well.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I just want to have fun. I have my horse because I enjoy it, and it's kind of like I'm living my little childhood dream. I've always wanted to have a horse and own a horse. I was never able to when I was younger. I didn't come from a horsey family, and to be able to live that as an adult, but I'm also doing it kind of in a respectable way that I'm, not putting unnecessary pressure on myself to say, Elizabeth, you're going to go to the Olympics. I just do this for fun, and I'm happy to follow Enzo's heart and to see where it takes me. And I love his personality as well. And I'm kind of letting Enzo tell me what he wants to do. And, I just, at the end of the day, want it to be fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, 100%. That's what horse riding is all about. And I did a little bit of research. And I think the first time you were on a horse was when you were 3 years old?
Yes. So I think this is going way, way back now. I think I did first sit on a horse when I was, very, very young. It might have been even at a pony party of a family member. But my auntie, or when I say I don't come from a horsey family, my auntie did have her own horse. But she's not into horses now and hasn't been, since I was very, very, very little. She had an old, I think, 20-year-old pony when I was about 3 that I sat on. But she, I think, was looking after me one day, took me to Horseland and said, we're going to get you a riding outfit. You're doing horse riding lessons.
Wow.
Me at the time, being very young, was like, woohoo! Ponies and horses and unicorns, this is great. So then she took me back to my mum, with me fully dressed in horse riding clothing, helmet, gloves, crop, little short boots, the whole kit caboodle, and said, I'm going to take Elizabeth to some horse riding lessons, which she did when I was really little. And I loved it and never really got to pursue it much after that. It was just like a term of horse riding, which I loved, but I had another hobby at the time which kind of took priority. So I danced for most of my childhood and teenage years. And so horse riding wasn't even a part of the picture until I got back into it when I was a teenager. One of my close friends, her auntie owned a riding school, and I would go there in the school holidays for a day camp here and there. Again, loved it. I've always loved horses. Then I got into it more solidly when I was at university because my dancing was put on the back burner. You know, my old knees can't hold up to what they were used. Yeah, it's such a physical sport. So I stopped dancing and I said, I've got to, fill that gap somewhere. I love training. I've got to have something else to do in my spare time. So I said, what do I love? You think back, and I said, I love horses and I love horse riding. So I'd love to do that. And Tim at the time, because we were together then, for Valentine's Day, I think got me a couple of horse riding lessons.
That's really
the
good.
rest is history. And here we are, all these years later,
well, here you are
owning a horse.
Well, here you are with over 45,000 Instagram followers. And that's probably what we're going to touch on next is, did you have aspirations to be an influencer on Instagram particularly?
I had no idea that this was going to happen. If you asked me even 4 years ago, what is an equestrian influencer, I would have absolutely no idea. I had no idea that this was going to happen. And I'm so forever thankful for everyone who follows me across all of the platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I don't think that there is kind of a secret or special formula to growing an audience on social media either. I think I've gotten to where I have today is because of how authentic I guess I am. I think so much of what I pride myself on is my willingness to show absolutely everything and share that with my audience. I think I would share I do share moments when I fall off, when I have bad rides, when I'm feeling a bit deflated, when I sometimes crash through jumps with Enzo. So then, I also share all the highs, like placing at events and doing really well and succeeding at competitions like the one on the weekend. I couldn't wait to tell everyone, all of our hard work has paid off. And realistically in the sport, there are so many highs and lows. And I think it's sometimes very easy to scroll Instagram, see everyone doing so well and thinking how successful everyone else is and comparing yourself to them, or even thinking my horse is this age and their horse is that age and my horse isn't meeting the targets. Maybe I'm failing or falling behind, but also forgetting that, everyone runs their own race. It's a marathon.
Exactly.
And realistically, behind the scenes, there's so much that actually goes on, and it isn't always perfect as what sometimes the photos show, and it doesn't always go to plan. And I guess that's what I share. Like even right now, I'm not giving eventing up, but I'm just, putting the handbrake on eventing for a little bit and kind of putting the accelerator on dressage at the moment. And I love reading everyone's comments as well. And I try and interact with my followers as much as they can, whether they're sending me a message or, commenting on things. I try and give them the time, because they've spent the time commenting and messaging me, that I owe them the time to respond, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be where I am without them.
Yeah, 100%, Ellie. That genuine way of that you care, or that you're not, I guess, fabricating or showing only the good parts of the world of Eli and Enzo is what attracts people. And you're very presentable. You are showing parts and doing really dynamic things in terms of like that drone footage, and it's really good to watch you guys in action. And for a nutrition company like CEN, we want that genuine care for the horse. We want the horse to come first, and you demonstrate this in the absolute fullest. And we're really lucky to have you as an ambassador. So I'll just throw a thank you to you this time.
Oh, and thank you to you again, Brian. And you did mention before about, the drone footage and everything. And I do have to kind of put it out there that it's a big thank you to Tim as well, being the flyer of the drones and the man behind the video camera, the DSLR, all, the GoPro, everything. So without him, and his keen passion and interest in photography and that, it's quite hard. You can't do everything yourself. So we're kind of a good duo at the moment. He's got quite a good eye to pick up on those those good angles and the good footage. So I have to say a big thank you to him as well. He joins me for those long weekends, eventing, camping in the swag,
Wow, yeah.
the whole thing. I think he knows how to do everything.
That's amazing.
Except ride, but we might have to change this.
Sounds like
he even knows what to feed Enzo as well. He's got all the set feed rates sorted. He's incredible at that. So, yeah.
No, it sounds like a perfect match, Ellie.
And I'm very lucky.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just really, I think what we see now on social media and across all the platforms, there is a lot of negativity as well. But I think if we can bring some inspiration into people's worlds, but real inspiration, not just not documenting the highs. Yeah, it's all about obviously forming that community. You really take the time to engage your followers and also growing that subscriber base on YouTube. It's not easy, and you've got a fair amount that really always engage and tune in, which is it's just amazing to see.
Yeah, and as you said, it is a lot of time and dedication as well, you know, trying to work full-time and ride full-time and also do all the social media stuff. It can sometimes seem, you know, it's almost like you're working at your full-time job, but then working outside of work as well. But it's like a part-time job, but I really enjoy it. And as long as I'm still enjoying it, I will continue to do so. And I try not to get, you know, caught up in the numbers, you know, when you were reading them out before about this on Instagram and this on YouTube. Like, I try not to get caught up in it, but I really like what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm enjoying writing. I'm enjoying making the content, and I'm going to just continue to share my journey with everyone.
It's really fascinating for everyone to see the development, like even our team seeing Enzo really flourish in your care, but then also when switching over to the CEN feed program, it just was a feel-good moment, the success that you had. And like, yeah, we rode the lows as well, but in the end, Enzo is being supplied the best nutrition base for his physiology, and we're just really happy that we can see this being documented and being a really good example for CEN with an off-the-track thoroughbred. So yeah, another thank you.
And I get the comments all the time as well from people going, what do you feed him? How much are you feeding? How is this happening? How does he look so good? And I have to say, I always, all the time, I'm like, he's on a full CEN nutrition diet. And, you know, contact the team. They'll give you a free diet analysis. They will help you out. That's what they're there for. And in the beginning, the first major change I noticed with Enzo, one of the other first things I noticed, other than, you know, his behaviour and his level-headedness, was the difference in his coat and his condition. I found that he, you know, really started to put on some weight. He had a real shine about him. And even still now, after about a year and a bit, it's really easy to maintain his weight. And he's been able to build on and pack on quite a lot of muscle, and he's never looked better. And I get compliments saying, you know, even, is your horse a warm blood?
Yeah, wow.
I'm like, no, Enzo's a thoroughbred. And they just can't believe me.
Yeah, that's amazing, Ellie. And we know we're supporting those muscle structures with the right building blocks, and just that overall balance of the diet. You're getting more efficiency through digestion, and you're working with the thoroughbred's natural physiology. You're not overloading that sugar and starch, and you got that balance of trace minerals and vitamins. So we're always happy to hear those compliments of our clients' horses. So no, that's amazing. So what we'll do is we will roll on to a couple of Instagram questions. I think you put a story out in the last 24 hours just to see if anyone wanted to ask any questions on the podcast. And I think you've got a couple there.
Yes, I do. So I put it up on my story, and there was quite a few questions. So I think we'll get you, Brian, to answer a few for us.
All right.
So one of the questions from Lucia.Equestrian was, how do you find out what's the best feed for your horse? Okay.
So put simply, every horse has the same organs, digestive structure and everything. So when we break it down, and that's why CEN doesn't have 20 different feed bags. We're just feeding a single physiology of a horse. So that's a lot of fiber, mainly fiber because they are fiber fermenters. We want a balance of fat. We want a balance of protein. We want sugar and starch where required in the diet, because we know if you do not do enough work with your horse, that just turns into fat, and we don't want a fat horse. So looking at a horse and answering the question directly, how do you know which feed? You can just feed one that is helpful for their overall digestion. So every horse should get unlimited roughage. So in the form of a grassy hay that is lower in sugar, lower in starch, this helps digestive movement throughout the horse. So that prevents a lot of metabolic issues, particularly also colic and also ulcers, and getting back to basics. So forget the hard feeds, start at your roughage source, get a good hay supplier, then move on to your hard feeds. So you want to balance the vitamin minerals in that hay and pasture because they're all unbalanced, higher in iron for the Australian soils. You want more zinc and copper. So you want those ratios. So then you choose a brand. So you could choose a brand like CEN. So we have a grain-free vitamin mineral pellet, and this is what Enzo is fed, and you work out the rate to your horse's weight, to your horse's training and the condition they're in, and that's your base. And then we provide oil separate to the pellet. We don't put an oil in the pellet for various reasons about oxidation, and we want it in the most pure form. Sorry, this answer's going a bit long, but these are the basics. So then you add the omega-3, which is the CEN oil, the plant-based one, which matches the profile of pasture. So if you're feeding hay, it's depleted. So you're just replacing what is in Dr. Green or what's in grass. And then looking at the overall weight of your horse and then the condition it holds through training, then you add another calorie source, either one that is grain or one that is fiber-based. And a lot go the fiber-based first because you can control their temperament a lot better. And then only if you require even more calories and a different form of calories, but not overdoing the sugar and starch, then you'll look at safe grain sources like oats. And we've got various podcasts that you can look up. And then depending on the age of your horse, what conditions it's had previously, then you'll look at your supplement range and you'll tailor it to there. So quite simply, you can feed most horses the same elements, but in different volumes, and they've all got the same foundation. So they're all horses at the end of the day. It's just tweaking them for their work, their environment, and their management. So if you've got any doubts, just contact CEN.
And I think that's exactly what we should tell everyone to do. If you have any questions, contact CEN. Because they know all.
I don't know if I took a breath then.
I don't think you did at all. That was amazing.
That was just
all of that information. That was incredible.
And at the end of the day, we're here for the horse itself. We're not here to flog products. We're here to get the best out of them and work with that physiology of what they're supposed to digest. And then it is a lot to do with environment and management as well. So we're just ticking one box in the nutrition. So I think we have another question, Ellie.
We do, and I think you might have answered this a little bit in your last one, but this is from Sophia Dressage asking, how many different hard feeds can you feed your horse? Kind of confused.
We can feed as many as you want, but it can be a waste of time. But then also...
And money, I guess, too.
Time, money, and then also interchanging different, and Peter says this on every podcast, I think, find a brand that you trust, find a brand that can help you balance the horse's diet. You can find CEN, you can choose another brand. And what you don't want to do is feed different brand bags because they're not meant to be interchangeable with each other. Like you can have the overall profile that you're trying to aim for, but there's always a more simpler way by just choosing one brand and going down that path. And what we've done here at CEN is we've really simplified it. We don't have a bag for say racing, another bag for eventing, another bag for dressage, and another bag for polocross or anything like that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to provide the best quality product and that's for all horses, and then you adjust, and I'm backtracking on the previous answer, so you just adjust to your horse's needs. So in a nutshell, feed less hard feed bags, make it more simpler on your life, but more importantly, feed enough roughage for your horse so then it covers its basic foundation needs of being a fiber fermenter, chewing on long stem roughage, so limit that chaff, and then you'll see major differences. If you're a horse owner that relies on the hard feed and not their hay, switch it up, switch it around, and you will see differences in their temperament. You will see differences in their performance. It also lowers the risk of ulcers, and it's just re-educating a industry that has lent on that hard feed a little bit too much, and then that's what we have seen is a lot of conditions, metabolic conditions being developed unnecessarily. So it's just getting back to basics with that long stem roughage, and we have a few podcasts on that if you want to scroll back through your Spotify or Apple lists, explaining the best types of hay.
Yeah, I think I even remember listening to them, Brian, and they were just so informative. And it is, I guess, as you said, a bit about changing old habits and creating a new mindset of how important the roughage is and the good quality, unlimited access to hay and things like that. I know I saw massive improvements when we even just changed that baseline with Enzo, and then having the one brand of CEN with his grain-free pellet, and then all of the different supplements with CEN, they just all go hand in hand.
Yeah, no, 100%, Ellie. And to answer that Instagram question directly, it's more controllable if you just stay on that one brand of hard feed and then branch out from there within that brand to even up the profile. So, yeah, if you need any help, just reach out, and CEN will be very happy to help.
And then I had one last question here. So this is actually from my partner, Tim, and he's asked, will CEN be launching any new products for humans?
Well, Tim, we have the CEN Collagen for Women and Men that was released a month ago. And I understand you guys have been taking it. If you want to give a short review, or if you've noticed anything.
Well, as you said, Brian, we've been taking it for the last month. We both think it's super easy to add into anything. We usually add it into our morning coffees, not more so water. We don't really add it into that. So the morning coffees, it's super easy. It's one scoop and that's it, taken for the entire day. We've really liked it. I've noticed for me that my skin is a bit better. I don't have as many blemishes, and I think my nails are growing a little bit faster.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Which is awesome. Sometimes, I guess you guys, if you follow me on Instagram and stuff, I do have acrylics on my nails sometimes, but I have to obviously make sure that my nails underneath are still really strong, because otherwise they will break, and that is very painful. So none of my acrylics have broken actually lately. Wow. So it might be due to the collagen too.
No, that's fantastic to hear, Ellie. And yeah, I've been cutting my nails at a pretty more regular rate. So maybe we should be having CEN nail clippers being sent to everyone. But
you know what? That's a great idea. I'm all for that. And I think Tim would be for that too. He's using a pair that I bought him in Japan about 6 years ago. So you said a nail clippers. Oh, he'd be loving it.
Yeah. And I do a bit of gym work, and like even for the rider, it's good for that connective tissue for your joints and trying to help your structure, because of obviously our diets are not the organ meats of yesteryear, and they're more lean meats. We don't have a lot of collagen in the diet, and we're trying to provide a really high quality source that we know is a missing link. And we do have a extensive podcast on this in a few podcasts back. So if anyone wants to deep dive the CEN collagen, they can check out episode 74, I think it is. So yeah, and to answer Tim's question, probably we will have more human products as the demand grows, because what we do is we do have human grade ingredients in all our horse and dog feed range, and we're really proud of that. And it was only natural to progress into that human range, and obviously human licenses and where it's manufactured. And I think it's been brought about by horse and dog owners seeing the effects of the CEN products in their animals, and that's the perfect test subject. Like, they won't lie, the response. And yeah, if we can try and improve human health as well, I think it's going to be beneficial for everyone.
Oh, that's awesome, Brian. I'm going to keep an eye out for any future CEN human products. I'm sure Tim might actually be screaming out for a protein powder if that's on the cards.
It's all good. I'll put that in my box of requests here. So I'll have a look around and see what we may come up with. So
perfect.
No, that's all good. So Ellie, I think we've definitely run it over time. So this has been a really good chat about your journey with Enzo and your journey with CEN. And once again, I'll thank you again for your time. Any last words to everyone? Well,
Brian, I think it's just an absolute pleasure to have CEN Nutrition as part of my team that is in my corner for Enzo and I. I really appreciate everything that you guys do. It's to better our horses, gut to help them perform at their best. And with your human range, it's going to help me as a rider to perform my best. So I can't thank you guys enough for having me on the podcast, and I hope everybody did enjoy it and get a little bit of a further insight as to me and Enzo and our lives and what we're doing and where it all began and now with the help of CEN Nutrition as well. So thank you so much for having me on the podcast, and I don't mind if it's run over time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, that's 100% right. And what we will do is we'll link all your social media links in the description of the podcast. We will have some product links as well. And I think even later in the year, we might have you back on and provide another update to Enzo and see how he is in his new dressage career.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. We're really excited to come on board again. And thank you so much for linking all the socials down below as well. That's awesome.
Fantastic. So if anyone would like to reach out to us and have any further questions about your nutrition needs, just jump onto cennutrition.com.au. We've got a contact form. You have a free diet analysis. We have a really busy CEN users group on Facebook, which really showcases the results people get off their CEN products. Also, any questions that you might want to ask, but you can easily DM us on Facebook, Instagram, and just through email. But we also have a office number here that, it gets manned by business hours and it gets absolutely hammered sometimes. So, it's all good. So thanks once again, Ellie, for your time. And it's not my bedtime yet, but it's only 8 o'clock in 7 o'clock in WA.
Yep, 7:10.
All good. Well, we will see everyone again, and thanks again, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Brian. Really excited to see what we can continue to do in the future together. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Cheers. Thanks.